Short exercise 10-3. We're going to calculate depreciation for an asset using 3 different methods of depreciation. So at the beginning of the year, Austin Airlines purchased a used airplane for $33.5 million. Austin Airlines expects the plane to remain useful for 5 years or 4 million miles, depending on which method of depreciation they're going to be using, and have a residual value of $5.5 million. The company expects the plane to be flown 1.1 million miles the first year. All right, so we're going to compute the depreciation of this plane using these 3 different methods. Now, of course, in the real world, the company would pick one method and then stick with that. What might be a realistic scenario in this is the company might be trying to decide which method to use. So therefore, you've been tasked with figuring out what the depreciation would be in the first year for these 3 different methods. And then when we're done with that, we're going to show the airplane's book value at the end of the first year. So requirement 1, compute Austin Airlines' first year depreciation on the plane using the straight line method. Begin by selecting the formula to calculate the company's first year depreciation on expense. Then enter the amount. So we need to enter the formula in words. So the formula for straight line depreciation is cost of the asset minus the residual value. And then you're going to divide that by the useful life of the asset. So now we're just going to plug in the numbers. So the airplane costs $33.5 million. 33, I'm going to put in the commas. You don't have to. It makes it easier to read. And then we're going to subtract our residual value. Our residual value is $5.5 million. Then we're going to divide that by the useful life of 5 years. So we're going to take $33.5 million, subtract $5.5 million, and divide that by 5 years, so we get a first year depreciation of $5,600,000. Now we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use units of production. Now, units of production, that method calculates depreciation on how much did you use that asset. And the way we measure how much we use an airplane is how many miles it flew. So the formula in words for that is we're going to take, well, first of all, we have to calculate the depreciation per unit. In this case, depreciation per mile. So to do that, we're going to take the cost minus the residual value. And then we're going to divide that by the useful life in units, which is the number of miles. So the first part, cost minus residual value, that's the maximum that we can depreciate over the useful life of this airplane. So the cost, again, is $33.5 million. Subtract a residual value of $5,500,000. And we're going to divide that by the number of useful life. In other words, how many miles can this thing be flown for its life? That's 4,000 miles. We get that from up there. 4 million miles. So we're going to take $33.5 million, subtract $5.5 million, and divide that by 4 million miles. And we get $7 per mile. So we've got $7 of depreciation per mile. And now we're going to calculate the depreciation for that first year. And to do that, we're going to take the depreciation per unit and multiply it by the current year usage, which is the miles that they've flown. So depreciation per unit, we get that from here, $7. $7 per mile. And how many miles did they fly in their first year? 1.1 million. So 7 times 1,100,000 gives you $7,700,000 of depreciation for the first year. And then the last method we're going to use is the double declining balance. And the formula for double declining balance, remember, is cost minus accumulated depreciation. And then we're going to divide that by 2 times 1 divided by useful life. The reason they call it double declining is because we're multiplying by 2. So this is going to result in a lot of depreciation early on, but then it's going to quickly decrease over the years. So our cost again of this airplane is $33,500,000. We subtract our accumulated depreciation. Now remember, this is for the first year per our instructions. So the first year we have no depreciation yet, so that's going to be 0. And then we multiply by 2 times 1 divided by life. And the life is 5 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 33.5 million times 2 and then times 1 divided by 5, which is the same as just divided by 5. And that gives us first year depreciation of $13,400,000. Then they want you to show the airplane's book value at the end of the first year for all 3 methods. So the cost is the same. The cost is $33,500,000. So we can copy and paste that. Less the accumulated depreciation. Here's accumulated depreciation for double declining. Here's a depreciation for units of production. Copy and paste. And then here's the depreciation for straight line. Then we simply do the math. The value on our books under straight line was going to be $27,900,000. And of course, the way I'm getting this is the way I'm calculating book values, take the cost, subtract the accumulated depreciation. That gives you the book value. Book value meaning the value on our books. Books are our accounting records. Under units of production, we get 25,800,000. And then our last method, double declining balance, we get 20,100,000. Now, it's important to realize that each of these methods may result in different depreciation per year, but the total depreciation over the life of the asset will be the exact same under all 3 methods. It's just a matter of, does it give you a lot of depreciation at the beginning, like double declining balance? Does it give you the exact same amount of depreciation every year, like straight line? Or does it vary depending on how much you use the asset? So again, in the long run, all 3 methods result in the same amount of accumulated depreciation.